Oliver Stone had once said you could be a leading man, but that he didn't think you really wanted that. And then your dad had told me last night his recommendation to you was always to be a character actor, and that you heard that kind of resonated. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I know he says that. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if that's true, because I don't think that you can say, I want to be a character actor. At least I don't ever remember saying to myself, I want to be a character actor. I just want to be an actor. I knew what it was like for 22 years, even though I had, an incredible beginning. I was lucky enough after 300 auditions or whatever to get the Goonies. It just happened, So for whatever reasons that happened, and then you experience this incredible thing that's now become even more incredible. But afterwards, it wasn't that, I'm sure I got thrashing based on the Goonies. And then after that, it just kind of went downhill. And I spent 22 years just trying to work. I'd do anything. I don't care what it was.
And having experienced that Goonies high probably made the lull that followed
harder, just more weight, because you're coming from someplace, you know what I mean? It's like these guys that we've seen kind of hit and then they go away, and 3 years later you're like, what happened to them? Like they did that movie, it didn't perform, whatever. So I had that, but it wasn't all on me. And then suddenly I have this 22-year lull where I'm working, but say I do a series and my face is plastered on Times Square and it's plastered on Sunset Boulevard, and 8 episodes later we realize it's not going to hit, and those posters get ripped down, and you have that enough times and you're like the guy who's not going to hit. It's just, you're not that guy.
Yet all the while, director Paul Haggis called you still a picky son of a because even when you have no money and you're, asking anybody for parts, you still would turn down big commercial roles.
Why? Even when after I did No Country, I got offered a role. I'm not going to tell you which one it is, but I got offered a role, and I got offered a couple of suitcases full of money. I mean, money that I couldn't even imagine in my lifetime. And it was with a good actor too. It was with a really good actor. And I left that meeting, and I called my agent and I said, absolutely no way. And he called the studio at that same moment, Jeff Robinoff, who I had a relationship with after that. And he said, I think I got him. We definitely got him. Like nailed it. And it couldn't have been further from the case. You know what I mean? But there's a story that along those lines, when I was 18 years old, I auditioned and got the Annette Funicello, Frankie Avalon comeback movie called Back to the Beach. My agent called me and he said, you got it. And it's a surfer and you get it because you surf, And it was a dumb role. And there was also at that time a series from the people who did Hill Street Blues, St. Elsewhere, and Miami Vice that had all kind of banded together. And they were going to do this series about the 50s called Private Eye. And there was a sidekick, kind of an Elvis-obsessed sidekick. And anyway, I went back and forth, and I was like, I really want to go for this other part. And if I really want to go for this other part, I can't do the Back to the Beach. So I turned down Back to the Beach. And I had 5 agents call me at different times. And I had one call me an idiot, which I remember very clearly. He's like, you're an idiot. That's why you pay us, to make decisions like this for you. And I was like, yeah, I know that, but I just don't want to do this. I want to go for that. Anyway, I ended up getting that, which was never going to happen, and how it happened, I still don't know. That series didn't work. It lasted 8 or 10 episodes. And then NBC offered me a fee to pay me a certain amount of money to stay with NBC because they liked what I did. And I said no. I don't know, man. It wasn't just about having the power of saying no, but it was like, I don't want to be stuck. I trust life enough
And even today, you've turned down plenty of big stuff. I mean,
On the way down here.
Oh, really? What did you turn down on the way down?
I'm not going to tell you what I turned down.
So you turned down the Jurassic World role that ultimately went to Chris Pratt. What did James Cameron say when you turned him down for Avatar?
I think he was. I heard he was angry. I don't mean to make people angry. Well, I don't. When you have, I understand it, because when you have something in your mind and you have a status and a power that you're used to people feeling really grateful that you're offering it to them. I don't know if that's the case with him, because I don't know him well enough. But something like Dune, I wasn't trying to get Dune. I went in to pitch a different idea, and then I ended up, the Mary Parent looked at me and was like, what about Josh for Dune? I didn't even need to read that, because it's Denis, and I love Denis, so I had a relationship with Denis, and it was like, I don't care what the role is, I'll do anything with you.
What about the Hunchback of Notre Dame?
That's something, okay, so my dad would play that every year. I think he had an obsession with Hunchback. That's the one carryover. So I was in a position where I had the opportunity to do it, and we were doing it. I remember Johnny Depp was going to be the poet, and I'd met with Tim Burton in Cannes, and was on Johnny's boat talking with Tim, and he was really into it. And you have these moments, man. You have these fluctuations, and I look back and I have been like on Tim Burton at that time, on Johnny's boat, Right. It was like had a Picasso there, and red velvet on the couches, and I was just like, what the and we were all in. And then the studio had a problem with it. I even offered it to the Coens at one point.
I want to ask you about money, because, I know just the other day you turned down a big part too, or maybe that's the one you were referring to as you were...
Green Lantern?
I don't know.
Me neither. I don't know the name. I'm just randomly saying things.
You said you were always the one that was paid the least for the longest time.
Oh, yeah, man. I was always the one that was paid the least, and I was always the one that would pick up for people who didn't want to do publicity. I don't know why. It was probably really good for me in the end, because I learned how to be more comfortable with it, or not give a shit as much. But yeah, I was always paid the least. Always. Because why would you pay me? You know what I mean? It's Josh,
And you felt like that's...
No, it wasn't. That's not my perception of myself as being less than. It just there was no viable reason to pay me.
Yeah.
I wasn't bringing in, you pay somebody because you feel that your investment is going to be met by the people that your name brings in. I wasn't bringing anybody in, man.
American Gangster, take me to the moment where your agent tells you how much you're going to make.
It's a success. American Gangster is perceived as a success, but if you look at the numbers now, was it that much of a success? It made more a little domestically than what it costs. And so I would never perceive, even if I was following the numbers, that it would have any impact on me, no matter how successful it was. So I got home. I had done Paul Haggis's. I had done a little part in Paul Haggis's. So it was No Country, American Gangster, and the Paul Haggis scene. And I was broke, man. I had paid back debts that I had, and I hadn't made a lot of money, and whatever money I did make went back into family stuff.
Which for No Country, after, you got $100,000, but after taxes and agents' fees, it was 30, yeah.
30 grand or something, and my mom had died, and I had that ranch, and and so I was keeping up costs of that, and so yeah, I got a call, and she's my lawyer, who I talked to this morning, and she was like, guess what? You got some back end for American Gangster, and I was like, what? And I was in panic at that point. I was like, I don't know. There's no jobs coming in. No Country hasn't come out. American Gangster hasn't come out. Nothing's come out. People still imagine this, He should have hit, but he didn't. And then she sent me the number. It was like 60 grand. 60 grand. Out of that, I was going to pull off, again, probably 30, maybe 25. And that's, I can live off that. That's amazing. And I called her and I was like, I can't believe this. 60 grand, that's amazing. And she said, look at it again. And I had missed a zero. And I started bawling. I started crying. I just felt like it just made no sense to me. It was winning the lottery. That was it. I was good for good. I could never act again and live for the rest of my life on 600 grand. I could make 600 grand at that point in my life last 5 lifetimes, at least in my head.